Hello, everyone. This is Michael Mirdad. We're going to share our Friday night spiritual insights with Michael Mirdad. And today we're doing it live from Unity of Sedona. Thank you for joining us. So today, let's talk about something that came up in our one of our workshops today, and basically the difference between the heart and the mind. All right? The heart and the mind. In the spiritual community, there's this ongoing notion that the heart somehow is superior. And I understand why people are teaching that. But there are a lot of people that are doing this whole thing around, it's all the heart. You got to open your, shut off your mind, open your heart. No. The people that say that are imbalanced. How do I shut off half of myself and call myself a master, a living master, an awakened one, or anything else to do with balance and wholeness? It doesn't make any sense if you think about it. I understand that it's sexy. I understand that it sounds really cool. Oh, well, let go of your mind, and because there's a way of saying it that's accurate. Buddha is known for having said this term mindfulness. But in the translation of the languages, the word, as he put it, mindfulness, meant heartfulness, believe it or not. So there are three parts to you and me, any of us. Three parts. The upper three chakras are my upper, that's my divine self, the I am within me. The lowest three chakras are my human self, the physical, emotional, and intellectual self. So just like I have a trinity here, which we often call the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit, Brahma, Shiva, Vishnu, the trinity. The human self, the physical, emotional, and intellectual. The intellectual is the solar, the firing of the mind, the neurons, the synapse. It's the abdominal version of the brain. So when I'm saying mind, I sometimes will point here because we think of the mind and the brain being the same, but they're not. Your mind is consciousness. You simply use your brain as a place to put some of your thoughts, to motor this thing into activity. But Buddha was talking about be heartful, not thinking oriented. Be heartful. When someone says, God, that was so thoughtful of you, do you think it meant intellectual? No, mindful, thoughtful. Thoughtful from a heart-sensitive place. A compassionate place, a loving place, a caring place, not an intellectual calculating place. So the heart has its proper place higher than the mind, even though all these human parts of me should be seen as equal. But the heart has its own unique role. It is higher, by no accident. Metaphorically, it's higher than the thinker, the mind, the lower mind. So it's like the solar plexus is the lower mind, the heart is the higher mind. I have an upper trinity, divine self. I have a lower trinity, my human self. My heart is in the middle, bridging these two worlds, just like so. You see Buddha, hand mudras. Upper, lower, all imbalanced within me. So heavenly energies, earthly energies. Yang, yin, and so on. These concepts of what seems like duality, no, they're not. Bring them together within you in balance. So, in one respect, the heart has a unique role in that it is a bridge between these other two trinities. In another respect, the heart is part of me still, and it's part of my torso, my human chakras. So in one respect, it plays its own role as a bridge. In another respect, it's part of the human torso centers. Chakra simply means my states of consciousness. So I have a physical state of consciousness, an emotional state of consciousness, an intellectual state of consciousness, an intuitive heart state of consciousness, and a divine, the three-in-one state of consciousness. Like 4 fingers and a thumb. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. It all comes together. It all makes sense if you think about it. So we're asked by some, let go of the mind. No. Let go of the ego mind. Sure, of course, that sounds fine. But ultimately, creation needs to have this, it rolls downhill, fluid, water pouring, downhill as it were. Here's the presence of God if in an ideal situation, instead of my intellect fighting divine inspirations, which is what academic world typically does, it's what scientific world typically does, political world typically does, medical world typically does, because they try to run themselves. We are autonomous of God. We ate from the tree of knowledge, the tree of awakening our own little brains, and we think we can be self-creative. We'll do it genetically. We'll do it in test tubes. We'll do it in science. We'll run ourselves, even politically, governmentally. We'll run ourselves. That is a statement of the ego saying, to hell with all of you up in heaven. We can do this ourselves. Our job is to say, but of myself, I am nothing. Without God, what am I? What could I be? I'm floundering, a little ego trying to pretend I'm something. So humility, an attribute of the heart, bridges those two worlds. So the heart says, not I'm confused because I'm disconnected from spirit. The heart learns to say, you know what? The prayer of the divine feminine, here I am. Show me, guide me. Here I am. Here I am. Opening heart, opening mind, opening arms. Here I am. You'll see that my arms and body form a chalice. You'll recognize this in, believe it or not, a tarot card. You'll also recognize this in Catholic Mass. The host, which is right here, my upper three Trinity chakras, the God presence, is like the holy round host dipping down into the chalice. It's also the traditional symbol for Pluto, where you have God made first priority, my receptivity second, and my body, human self, last priority. When you see the glyphs in astrology for planets, although some people, the letter P they use for Pluto, some people, it's like, that's just so almost funny that they forgot the sacredness and the symbolism of each planet and did something that crazy. That's just silly. The letter P. Oh wow, took a lot to think that one up. In any case, there was actually an original glyph of symbolism. So keep this in mind. Keep this in awareness. The way this actually works. God, I need to open my heart to receive God. That floods not only my upper centers, but it pours down and fills my heart center. When my heart is filled, my heart needs to then say, hey, everybody downhill, pay attention. I'm in charge. God has guided me to say to you the following. We have a new project to do. We have a new inspiration. We have a song to write. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. But it's a creative flow. From the quantum waves of the universe to quantum particles to subatomic particles to atomic particles to molecules. Down, 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 till it becomes a manifested thing. Humans, they just work with their hands. They work. They wear themselves out. They wear out their nervous systems, their brains, their bodies, their joints, muscles, and so on. They wear themselves out trying to make something happen because they forgot how to say, you show me. And then an inspiration comes and it gives you all that you need to make things manifest. So technically, humans cut off each chakra. There's a barrier. For humans, we think our bodies just run themselves. Humans, they barely tune into their second center, which is emotional center. But those who do, they cut that off from the rest. Then if they're in their intellect, they cut that off from the rest. So we're living in constant, not only separation, but subdivisions of separation. Instead, what we can do and learn to do is, I'm going to do this differently. That you could say that. I'm going to do this differently. Of myself, I am nothing. So I'm surrendering the lower self to the heavens. Here I am, God. What would you have me do today? Starting each day with that prayer of the divine feminine. Some people are twisting the notion, the concept of divine feminine as being some sort of, bitchy version of autonomy They call that the divine feminine. Divine because I'm autonomous, I'm powerful, and feminine, they think it's feminine because they're confusing feminine with bitchy. No offense if you happen to be a bitchy divine feminine person. Okay? But really, it's the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Those who say, wait a minute, bow in humility, those are the ones that rise and understand what this means. The divine feminine means humility. Instead of I know everything, the not so healthy masculine, the divine feminine is the opposite. Help me, I don't know. You show me. It's so beautiful. It's not becoming masculine-like, saying I know, and I'm going to be just a female version of a man. It's not. It's being spirit. It's being the living soul that's in our hearts, all of us. So the divine feminine is not a female thing. It's all souls have to reclaim their sense of humility to say, oh my God, I got it. Of myself, I'm nothing. So let me open up to the everything of the universe. The arms, literally or figuratively, come out of the heart. Here I am. Guide me. Show me. And in this position, we receive the host, the holy host of God. It descends not only here in our being, its presence then is felt in my heart because I opened my heart and said, what would you have me do or think or feel today? I opened my soul up, so here it comes. Now, once it fills my heart, the place of inspiration, I get this, I have an idea. A song, intuition, compassion, all the things that are of the heart. Humanitarianism, love, forgiveness, heart, heart, heart. I open my heart, God enters my heart and floods that heart with everything you could ever need. But we still have another part of ourselves, right? Waiting, the human. So the human's going, okay, I see you're having a party up there to the heart, You're looking like you're having quite the little blast up there with God, flooding and all this light. What about us? What you don't want to do is let the human self react and retaliate and say, no, we're going to control things on our own. You don't want or need that. What you really want to do is say, what would you have me do? Let this pour down into even the human self. Here's how. It's almost like the prayer of life would be to say, Father, Mother, God, fill my heart, mind, emotions, and body. In a nutshell, that's what it's like doing. You fill me. So start with my heart and soul, then also my mind, my emotions, my body. However, it helps if you and I make way ready for that. How? If your mind is manic, if your mind is overly busy, if your mind is all worried and obsessive, that's not a great receptacle. Here comes this beautiful pour of infinite energy from God to my heart and tries to get to my mind, and my mind's too busy to catch it. Or my mind says, I already know what I need to know. I'm in control. I got it. That's the ego. So I have to make my mind ready, which is basically like saying, shh, no more. Be quiet. Yeah, but no, quiet. Something wonderful is about to happen. So the mind is not retired like some people get out of the mind. No, you give it a different instructor. You don't let it control. That's what it means to get rid of the mind. It means you don't let it control. You give it orders. Now, at first, it's going to be kind of ticked off because it's used to being hijacked by the ego and given full reign, which is no reign at all. It's just constant catastrophe. But we're saying instead to the head, to the thinker, the lower mind, I do need you. You do? I thought you didn't like me. Oh, I love you. You do? Yes. I don't want you controlling our life anymore, but I do have a job for you. Well, okay. Let me do what you're asking. If it'll work, yeah, it'll work. So I have some really great inspirations, and I need you to help organize them. I have some ideas, but I need you to help me figure out who to call to get that to happen. I need you to decide, make a list of things I need to buy when I get to the store because I have a painting in mind, and I need you to help me remember which things to buy to do the painting. So the mind organizes the inspirations that come from God. Again, the mind is to organize the inspirations, notice where I'm pointing, now the heart, that I get from God. Perfect. What's the role of the emotions? Well, if the ego is in control, the emotions are just going to be out of control. If God's in control and I'm going to be this vessel, funnel as it were, of God's presence in my day-to-day life, then my emotions become this place where I'm saying, I actually need you too. Really? A lot of people kind of diss us. When you're real spiritual, they diss us. Emotion, again, like the mind. I don't want you out of control. I don't want you trying to control. I don't want you just going haywire emotionally. What I need you to do, I have this idea that came as an inspiration in my heart from God. And my mind kind of organized it a bit. You know what I would like you to do? I would like you to charge it with excitement, because this did come from God after all. And the emotions are like, ooh, that's kind of cool. We like intense emotion. We love to be able to dance and sing. Great. I just want you to not go nuts in your dancing. I want you to dance celebration rather than tragedy. And your emotional self will go along more. It needs to know someone showing up to take control, as it were. It needs to know that someone feels a confident directive. When your emotional self, your intellectual self, and your physical self for that matter, feel like everything's kind of nutsy, the inmates are running the asylum, they have to fend for themselves. They worry, they're scared. And even down to the body level, believe it or not, the body level, which includes your energy systems, chakras, aura, meridians, your organs, your glands, your cells, your blood, your everything. All of these systems are either the result of havoc that's gone haywire, starting first and foremost from disbelieving in the divine, disconnecting from the divine, and trying to just manage your life. And, every center and every part is just doing the best they can to survive. Not thrive, but survive. So now the body is running on reserves. It's not plugged into God, infinite energy. It's running on reserves. Only so much water intake, so now I'm suffering. Only so much food intake, so now I'm suffering. Only so much love from other people, I'm suffering. All codependent on everything you can imagine in the material world that can't give you anything that sustains. Can seem to, and even if it does at all, it's only temporal. It's only temporary. So the human self, the body part, the physical aspect of my being, because we've talked about the heart, the intellect, the emotion, now the body. So the physical part, think about that. It's running like it's just havoc, man. My stomach is trying to thrive, but the meridian is drained, so there's no energy going to. It's almost like no electricity going to a building. The building is like an organ. No electricity running to it. It's going to get too hot, too cold, just like your stomach would if its meridian is off. And it's not one meridian. It's part of a whole ecosystem of energy systems. So the physical self is also then scared, and it's sort of trying to run itself. It's saying we can't count on anybody upstream, so let's make the best of it. And that's why people get adrenal fatigue, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, all these illnesses that people can't seem to figure out the cause of, because they lost sight of the spiritual causation. So how are they going to find the cause? They're suffering with digestive issues, glandular issues. They're dying basically. And the ego self is going to go, well, hey, everybody dies eventually, so don't moan about it. Just gradually just go into a lump of pain and depression. But that's not the will of God, and that's not what happens when we plug in. There's this whoa, everything kind of came to life. Look at the car battery when it's drained. Well, that's the body. It's drained. Notice how the car can't actually plug itself in and get a jump start? You have to jump start it. You have to plug it into something that's not of itself. So the car, sometimes completely dead. Other times, just It's like a person. I want to think. I want to be alive. I'm trying to write that book. I have a writer's block in my painting. It's just stalling. But it can jumpstart God. And then notice when it fires up, the radio's on, the air starts blowing, the lights come on. That's how it could be for you and me if we learn to plug in. And one last piece to that. In the Chinese system of medicine, it's said that the body is like a kingdom. And typically, if the owner of the body is off center, not plugged into the divine, simply corrupt, as the words it uses, if they're corrupt or they're depressed or whatever, the whole kingdom will suffer. And this center is called Shen. And it means like the emperor, and it's your soul. God's already fine. So Shen isn't really talking about God. It's God in you, so it's in your heart and soul. So it's like saying, Shen, if your heart is in the right place, the whole kingdom will function properly and thrive. Makes total sense if you think about it. But if Shen is off, the whole kingdom will suffer. Basically, that's all I'm saying. So, you can thrive, but the heart has to be in the right place. So life is not based on just your thinking. People say, oh, it's your thinking. You get positive thinking and all these techniques on manifesting what you want in life. Guys, your thinking is the solar plexus still. It's still a control freak. Your beliefs in your heart are what is going to determine what happens in your thinking. What you believe in your heart. I believe in God. I believe that I'm plugged into God. I believe that I'm made in the image of God. I believe that it's God's will that I thrive. Get right in your heart. How? Let's say you ask how. Prayer, meditation, forgiveness, love, compassion, qualities of the heart. Nurture the qualities of the heart, but none more important than plugging in. Prayer and meditation. I call it communion. Combine prayer and meditation into communion. There's a great prayer. It's free. The communion exercise. I call it the daily communion exercise. It's free. It's on my website. It's also noted in a couple of my books. Like you can find it in the Dark Night of the Soul book. It's really nicely outlined there. It's outlined in my Heart of A Course in Miracles book. But it's also a free download. Just go to the Teachings tab, and then under Teachings, it'll be free downloads or downloads. You can go there and print it out. It's easy to learn. Follow it. It's a few steps only, but it's really relatively easy. And some people are going to go, well, if it's not complicated, it can't be that good. The opposite is true. Complicated is when the lower mind cuts off from the heart and decides what's best. Complicate things. Make it so complicated that people won't want to do it. It fools you. But simplicity, the heart is simplicity. The mind, lower mind, is complexity. So complexity is death. Because most people, when things are made overly complex, they won't try. They become hopeless. And they become depressed. Make people, including yourself, believe and understand. Things can be easy if we only believe. Things could be magical if only people would believe. Things could flow if only people would believe. God gives you an inspiration. Your mind, lower mind, doesn't become lower mind. It's still lower mind in its position, but its role is no longer a lower role. It's, I need you to help formulate this for me. I'm going to teach a class about forgiveness. God gives me this idea. Oh, I'm going to teach a class on forgiveness. Oh, I feel inspired. I feel open. My heart opens and I'm feeling like I feel forgiveness towards people. But now I'm still going to do a class. So my mind, can you help me fix some charts? What kind of charts could I make to show people? Or an exercise? Or whatever it might be that I'm going to share in the class. 5 points towards forgiveness process. That's the mind being given a proper role. It doesn't cut off from the heart and say, to hell with you, I'm going to figure this out myself. I'm going to talk about forgiveness, make it so complicated nobody gets it, and then we lose everybody. That's what it would do when it's hijacked by the ego. The heart needs to be filled with spirit. The mind needs to be filled with the heart. The emotions with the mind, the body with the emotions. Just let it all funnel downstream to fill you so that you're full of light. Let thine eye be single, Jesus said, and your body will be filled with light. In a way, that's what it's talking about. Let your goals, your intentions, everything, let them be single, meaning make them all have the same intention, the same directive, the same goal, and you'll be filled with light. Exactly. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm so heart chakra-ish. You're beaming light from your heart, and the rest of you is dim. How does that sound good? You know, whoever thought that that's a good idea, other than the ridiculous person out there here and there? I'm just all heart. I'm just all heart. I can't balance my checkbook. I'm broke as hell. I have no money. And I forgot, because I'm so heart-set, I forgot to put gas in my car. So my car now broke down. On the side of the road, I got no gas. So now I'm walking in the desert trying to figure out where to go. Excusing the whole thing. Well, I'm just so heart-centered. No. You want to be balanced. You want the presence of God in all aspects of your being. So you can be alive in all aspects. All your chakras beaming light. You see, even as I'm doing this talk, the presence of God, I feel it strongly. I draw it into my heart and I feel grateful. Gratitude is another heart concept. And it's formulating down into my mind. So I'm sort of, as I'm speaking, it's sort of creating a set to follow, a system to follow. It's organizing it so that I can say there's 3 of these and 5 of these. That's the mind properly placed, organizing it. If I disconnect and only come from my head, I would become from this like a complicated conversation, and it would be dry, seemingly profound to my ego. It'll, just confuse people, not help, not make people feel uplifted, but rather deflated. That's what happens with the lower mind, but it's not how I feel. The mind is organizing what I'm saying as I'm saying it. And then I feel, just, oh my God, the emotion of it's just like exciting. And I can feel the emotion of people watching. Most people would go, God, this is cool. You're going to feel it's contagious in a good way. And then physically, it's going to make a difference. Physically, it's going to sustain me. Physically, literally. It'll sustain, it'll sort of massage something that's needed, or it'll align something that's needed, or it'll take me into a space of feeling physically just alive. Maybe it'll rest me deeply tonight when I sleep. Whatever form it's going to take, it'll have a great effect physically. I have food you know not of. That's what that means. I mean, literally today, I had like a few bites of something all day. And I'm not sitting here, oh, God, I don't know if I can talk. I don't know if I can teach because I haven't eaten. I'm not sustained by that. I'm sustained by this beautiful presence, even as something's coming through. What was I going to talk about? I didn't really know. But something kind of popped in my mind a moment ago. And it's like, somebody asked about that. And that would be kind of interesting. So here, it's an inspiration from Spirit. I receive that in my heart. I formulate it in the mind. Get excited and receive the benefits of it. The benefits can be, oh wow, people dug it so much they made donations. It can be financial that you gain from it. Health, everything material, physical, root chakra can be gaining from it. Whatever form that takes. All the physical can be fed all the way from God directly if we don't get in the way. If we don't block it. With arrogance, with ego, with overthinking, with letting the lower mind run the show. And I use this model in all kinds of things. I've gone to churches that were having problems between a board and a minister and said, you guys have forgotten. The board's trying to control the church. Watch out for that. Because the minister is supposed to be the heart of the church. Any minister of any church, any spiritual leader. They're supposed to be the heart of the church. So they should be asking God for guidance into their being the minister. The minister then should ask the board how to make these ideas practical and doable. The board then passes it down to committees to get them excited because that's the emotional center and gets them interested in doing it. And then the physical is the congregation gets to receive the benefits and the outcome from it. Perfect. I go to a church and they say, we're having problems. As soon as I ask, it's going to be one of these pieces is out of place. I resolve their problems in seconds if they but listen. Because it's about getting your priorities straight. Oh, the minister's the one that's out of whack. Then why did you, the board, hire him? Get rid of him. I don't care what they think of it. Tell them to get plugged into God and do their role instead of trying to be the board. They're not the board. They're supposed to be doing this to God. Guide me. When they shut that and start getting in their head and start trying to control everything, they're being the board. They need to do this, receive. They need to pass that to the board, let the board help formulate that into something. And the board should love them, the ministers, the spiritual leaders. It could be a yoga center and it's the same principles. God, down, 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 all the way. Then we see a life that reflects. When you see me, you see the Father. Let the inside be like the outside and the outside like the inside. Many parables and comments and statements and quotes from, say, Jesus or Buddha that I've shared along the way here. Many insights that you've had. It's not just Jesus and Buddha. You have had some of these same ideas. But follow them. No, there's a reason for all of this. Even the metaphor of your chakras are trying to teach you something. That there is a priority level. 1 to 2 to 3, on down. We forget these simple things. And then it gets us into deep trouble. All right? Off center leads us astray. Center and aligned. That's the ticket. All righty? Thank you so much, guys.